everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Stephanie Henderson, here in the She Suite in the Books and Bounty TV studios. Nice to thank you all for joining tonight. We have a few special things tonight. First and foremost, I want to give a special shout out to some special partners that have been really helping Books and Bounty along the way. That includes BeMoreNews.com owner Donnie Glover, host of the Emmy nominated Donnie Glover Show, as well as Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., owner and CEO of JNF Enterprises. We'll have more links to them in the description and more information about what you can find on BeMoreNews.com later on in the show. So, um, what we're going to talk about today in the first part of the show, as usual here on Books and Bounty TV, our first part is in guest interview. And today we have special guest with us, Nicole Butler. Thanks for joining today. And then in part two of the show, we'll have a bookish recap of all the bookish things, people, and events that we encountered in October. Plus, go through the extensive list of book reads and recs that were either featured somewhere along in the Books and Bounty community, online, here on TV with special guests, and others. When I was writing it out, I didn't realize how long the list was, so I'm excited that it's up on booksandbounty.com as of today. We'll also, special announcement, we'll announce our first Books and Bounty giveaway winner. And stay tuned because this is just part one of the giveaway. I'll have more details about that. Again, that's in part two of the show, so stick around after our interview with Nicole. And so, let's see. And then we'll give you an update on some of my reading. I did finish reading Outrage by Brian Copeland, so I'll give you my first thoughts on that. We'll have a full interview. We'll have a full review of that read tomorrow. I also got through a few stories in The Wishing Pool. I started reading that with you guys on the last episode, as well as a few more stories through Never Whistle at Night. So stay tuned for part two as we recap our bookish October. But first and foremost, I want to introduce you guys to Nicole Butler, also known on Instagram as Butler's Book Bag. I met Nicole when I decided to try my first silent reading meetup. I had always thought it was some good way for me to step into the book club world because, one, I wanted to get to know other bookish people, but there's not always a book club that has a book that necessarily I would want to pick up or even challenge myself to read nonetheless. So I thought this was a good way to meet other bookish folk, share a little bit of my literary interests, gain some other recommendations from a diverse group of readers. And it really turned out to be that way. And I asked Nicole nervously, because this was my first time doing so, if I could go live from Nicole's meetup. And without hesitation, Nicole said yes. And you can catch highlights from that experience up on Twitch TV, on Books and Bounty TV on Twitch, as well as a few highlights are now posted to my YouTube channel. So Nicole is known as a savvy visionary in public education. She is dedicated to the learning success of all of her students. She uses service-based learning approaches in her considerable experience teaching students and leading teams in the Baltimore, Washington area school systems to advocate for her students in and out of school. Being an avid reader, Nicole continued to shine her love of learning through her Unsilent Reading Meetup and other endeavors that we'll talk more with her about tonight. We'll talk with her about Butler's Book Bag and, again, some of the work she plans on doing in her community. Welcome, Nicole. Thank you for joining.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well. Thanks for
Okay,
joining.
great. Well, glad to be here and thank you for the invite. I appreciate it. All things books and book talk, and this is so cool.
So, one of the first questions I always leave with guests here is, what brought you to reading? What made you an avid reader? We know that there are different levels to people who read, but you are fully immersed in not only through your career, but through your interests and also through your uh, volunteer work and advocacy. So tell me how that spark was lit with you.
Well, it was the year was. Nah, I'm just joking. Actually, it's very familial. My mother always said it. I just didn't pay attention to it. And she used to say, "You get that reading from your grandma. You get that reading from her." And I'm like, "Okay, I like books." So it's a twofold thing. I didn't realize how much I love to read until actually when my mother, grandmother passed, and we were cleaning up her stuff, and I took a lot of her books, and yeah, she used to read just for pleasure. I did as well. The other piece was that uh, I had teachers that encouraged me to read different types of books, and I just got into the stories. So it was my grandmother, I guess the DNA part, and then the nurture in the classroom with some of my teachers in my early years. Like I don't remember learning how to read. I just knew I knew how to read. So it's I've been in this since been as they say.
It's funny you say I don't remember learning how to read. That's a good question for me to jot down for guests in the future because you have that whole moment of when do you realize you came into your conscious being and stuff. I'm like, did you have a moment where you realized you could read? And I have a story, and I don't know if it's my conscious memory or just because it's stories that have been told to me, but I yearned to read as a young age. I do remember this feeling. I don't remember all the details, but I do remember just yearning to read. And when I finally did learn how to read, my mom said I read the city. So I read all the signs, street signs, billboards, anything like that that could, um, as we were riding around, going about our day. So that's interesting. She said I can't remember exactly when you started learning how to read, but you can remember when you got that spark from your grandma.
Yeah.
And so another question: where do you find the joy in reading, or why do you think you find the joy in reading?
Well, it may sound corny, but it's just a chance to just step into another world when you not want to get away from yours. You just want to see something different. If you don't have a passport, it's just another way for your mind to travel. If your mind wanders and you're always thinking about different stuff, you know, books are always there, whether they're fiction or nonfiction. But also, I have a very curious mind, so I always like learning things new, whether I'm learning it through a story or through informational text or even listening to a story. People, audiobooks are still reading. It's just that you read with the ears instead of with the eyes. You're reading with one of the senses. So it's just the curiosity about what's going on in the world too. Mhm.
Yeah, I call that the sort of wanderlust for the world of words. And it's, where I also found and like you said, not escape, but just a place to find out about new things, new peoples, new culture, both fiction and in nonfiction. And uh, it was great to be in your first silent meeting club, which has a new name as the Unsilent Meetup, Reading Meetup. And when we were there in end of September, it was right around the hurricane season. We were having the hurricanes every weekend. It felt like coming up this way, and but it was a great, cozy evening for a night of reading and fellowship around books down at Swill on Washington Boulevard in Baltimore, Maryland. Shout out to Swill for having Nicole and others. It's a great establishment. Make sure you guys check it out. So Nicole, tell me what brought you to creating your meetup, your book club.
So actually, it's not a book club. I call
Hmm.
it a situationship, and I call it a situationship because it's not committed. It's where that trying to simplify it. I'm trying to come out of my teacher thinking, just be real simple. So I apologize for my stumbling.
No, no, no
Yeah,
problem. Take your
the
time.
silent reading the silent reading meetup is for people who like to read on their own, but they don't want to read by themselves, if that makes sense. Like, I want to read my book, but I want other people there. I call it the introvert's happy medium. Like, I'll be out, but I don't have to socialize unless it's talking about something I'm into, which are books. I say a situationship because It's not, although I'm hosting it monthly, I don't expect to see the same people every time. If I do, great. If I don't, that's great as well because it's for people who just want to get out for that particular month to do that particular thing. Um, and it also goes to the movement is happening. Silent reading is happening in different cities.
Hmm.
Some people, like in New York, they had it where like they had like 8,000 people in a park start reading at the same
Yes,
time.
I did
Saw a
hear
video
about
on
that.
Instagram
I'll try
about
to bring
that.
that up in part two. I'll bring that
Oh,
story up in part two because that's really interesting. I'm gonna write
yeah,
that one
and
down.
there's one in Atlanta that's actually a club
Mm,
where they meet and just in a spot and do it. But I didn't want it to be a club because for some book clubs, they don't want to read the selection. You said that earlier. Some people don't want to read the selection. Some people may not be able to afford the selection, and the library may not have it.
mm,
Sometimes you cannot make the meeting, so you feel guilty that you're missing months. And then sometimes it's the same
mhm,
10, 20 people, and it's cool. You want to keep your group of friends, but then you don't give yourself a chance to be exposed to different voices and
mm,
different thoughts. So that's why I say it's a non-committal situation. We just want you to come bring your book, feel comfortable talking about it because you're turning us on to either a new genre, a new
mhm,
title, or a new author.
mhm.
And that's what it's all about, just building community organically.
That's what I like to hear, building it organically. And that has been the theme these first, leading up to almost a full month of Books and Bounty TV. It's about building our bookish community here. And tell me how, because I know you were going back and forth about how you were renaming the meetup. Tell me how you came to Unsilent Reading.
Well, it's on silent for this month because since it's hosted on Halloween,
Okay.
Swill is having another event going on, and the owner was like, "Are you still comfortable?" I was like, "No, this would be a time where we could be a little bit more social, still read, still talk about the books we have, horror, thriller themed." But I named it on silent because the venue is not going to be
Mhm.
silent, and there's going to be other things going on. But as far as the name change, it's because, like I told you earlier, there's an official trademark silent reading book club that has chapters across the country. They've been around since 2012, and I'm just thinking in the future that if this blows up,
Which it
this
will.
right now, okay.
Yeah.
What I'm building with Butler's Book Bag, I don't want to do any conflict. Plus, I want it to be where when people think of what I'm building is that it's not that formal. I'm
Hmm.
trying to be the antithesis of formal when it comes to the Silent Reading Book Club because I've been in a number of book clubs. I was a book club organizer that
Hmm.
had chapters, and there's nothing wrong with the clubs that I've worked with. The one thing I've realized is that level of commitment that life sometimes does not allow. Although you're committed to reading, are you committed to meeting every third Saturday at 2 o'clock
Right.
from 2 to 5 at this place with this group of people?
Hmm.
That may not happen. You may pick up a class that you need for work or for your family or whatever. You may pick up something
Yeah.
that takes that third Saturday from 2 to 5. But that should not disconnect you from having a community that you could tap into. Although I host the silent readings at the same time of the month, which is the end of the month, towards the either
Hmm.
last Thursday or Friday, it also means that at least she's doing it that week of the month, but I don't have to come every month because we're not committed to a certain book either.
Right. Right.
People just like they pick their clothes, they pick their books, and they have their
That's
they have
me.
their favorite style. Some people like to wear dresses all the time. That means some people only like to read horror. Some
Hmm.
people only like to read nonfiction, political thought books. Just like some people only like to wear
Yep.
Nike shoes. So
Yep.
you don't want to restrict people when
Hmm.
they do come together to share their literary thoughts and their bookish and being
Yep.
their bounty of books.
Yep.
And then
Exactly.
what I like about it as well, the only thing that it pushes a reader to do is to
Hmm.
touch that TBR list. You got all those TBRs on
All
your
of them.
shelf.
The whole.
Silent reading gives
whole
you an opportunity to say, you know what? I'm gonna sit in this restaurant with this people for at least 2 hours. Let me finally get that book.
yes.
And I think that's the better prize is that you're actually tackling your TBR list of books that you already are interested in.
Yeah, and I think everybody out there can relate, has a long TBR list. I want to see y'all in the chat. Let me know how long or how tall your TBR pile is. Uh, right now, a few of my TBRs are listed here that we highlighted in Books and Bounty this month. So we'll get to that in part two. But Nicole, so tomorrow, not tomorrow, yes, today after tomorrow on Halloween is the next meetup. And you said that Swill will be hosting a class there, but I think you also are encouraging the attendees to bring a certain type of book. So tell me a little bit more about what type of book you're going to encourage folks to bring. Not, again, not committed, but again,
Oh
one of
yeah,
my favorite genres.
I, look, because in the spirit of Halloween, a lot of people look at Halloween differently. Like there's Samhain, I may have said that wrong, but it
Mhm,
is another way to celebrate it. Then you have the Hoodoo way that
mhm,
celebrate pre All Saints Day, All Hallows Eve, and so it could be in that realm since it's a spiritual time for a lot of people in
mhm,
that community. You can bring a book about that. What I put in the description at Butler's Book Bag Instagram is that any kind of horror, thriller, speculative fiction, anything that could give a good wiggle.
mhm,
And instead of us taking the time to read it, because there will be another event going on, is that we just talk about it. Like just kind of skip the silent reading part. That's why I call it unsilent
mhm,
this month. Is because we're gonna just talk about it. So it could be a book you already read. It could be a book you already started. If I had to say a requirement, maybe it would be that. That way
mhm.
you can add to the conversation.
Yep.
But otherwise, you bring whatever book. You could bring a book about romance that
Mhm.
may have a thriller twist to it. Who
There's a
knows?
few of those out. Immortal Dark
Yeah,
is one of them.
I mean,
Immortal
yeah,
Dark vampire romance, paranormal romance story. That's in the
hey,
realm of
that's my
science
lane.
fiction. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Um,
I have that on my list
you
of
do?
Halloween reads questions that you gave me that I'll share, but a couple that I like. But yeah, just it doesn't matter what book you bring. It's just the difference with this meetup versus the past is that we're just gonna go into conversation and just
Hmm.
swap parts of the story, even read parts of it to each other, just to
Hmm.
get that
That was the
scary
part I
feeling.
really liked, that part of the silent meetup. And people just did it like on their own organically. They just said, you know what? Here's an example of exactly what I'm talking about. I said, look at us, readers. and
That,
and even the folks that you can tell there were a couple of folks who were a bit more shy. By the end of it, they had to say their piece, and they had to get it out. And I really like the inclusivity, the diversity of the group that was there. So I'm really looking forward to see who's gonna join on Thursday. So we know we want to say in the horror, dark fiction, fantasy realm. I have on booksandbounty.com on our blog just posted and reposted to bemorenews.com our full October 2024 reads and recs, which includes an extensive list in the horror, science fiction, dark fiction. There's even some literature from the Caribbean Gothic tradition listed there. So go take a look. But in the meantime, Nicole, what are some of your reading recommendations tonight?
so you mentioned paranormal. That's my lane.
Hmm.
And let me just say before I give my list. Also, the reason why this event's on Halloween because some people don't trick or treat or
Hmm.
have anybody to take. So this is just another event to go to. If you're not in a party mood or
Hmm.
bar hopping mood,
Hmm.
this is another event to go to. You just have to bring vibes in a book.
Vibes in a book.
So now to the
That's
list.
something you need to put that down as one of your put in the back pocket for a motto. Vibes in a
Yeah,
book. I like that.
gotcha. So by she's no longer with us. She's in the ancestor realm, but author L.A. Banks,
Okay.
also known as Leslie A. Banks, Leslie Estelle Banks. She had the Vampire Huntress series. It's a
Mm.
series of 12 books. The main character is named Damali Richards, and she is a long lineage of vampire huntress from thousands of years of history, millennia.
Oh, that
And
sounds good.
it's an epic series, 12
Hmm.
books.
Hmm.
It's a battle between good versus evil,
Hmm.
morality, different cultures are represented: Native cultures, Norse
Mhm.
cultures, Celtic cultures, uh, Afrocentrism, Afrofuturism. Like she
Mhm.
touches on so many things that you're like, how can she put it all in a series? And I highly recommend it. Anytime somebody's looking for a vampire paranormal series, this is the top one. I've been reading her series since like 2002. She's been
Mhm.
publishing it that long, and she published her last one, I want to say 2014, because she passed around then.
Um,
And she published the last book. She finished the series. So definitely check it out. L.A.
she
Banks, like L.A.
L.A.
initials.
Banks. She sounds like in the tradition of Tana Reredo, who we've been talking about a couple of times in the last episodes of Books and Bounty TV. I'm actually reading right now stories from the Wishing Pool, so I'll definitely have to check out that author, L.A. Banks.
What's interesting, the difference between, because I read some of her books, the difference is that um, they're similar with the type of storylines, like different characters, but the difference is with L.A. Banks, she adds pop culture to it. The Molly Witches is a singer,
Okay.
poet, spoken
Okay.
word artist, so that's her cover to hunt out vampires. So it's like,
That sounds like fun.
oh, be somebody. So that series, other one I recommend also with L.A. Banks was also L.A. Banks, Brandon Massey, who's another brother who's a horror fiction writer, and the book is called The Ancestors, and it's an anthology
Okay.
of different stories from them. And one is vampire based, one is, I think, a ghost story or something like that, spirit based story. But the anthology will have you kind of up. um,
I'm writing down your reading recs in the chat, so keep going.
yeah, so the ancestors, and also those are, I'm gonna stop there only because I'm recommending the series, and that's 12 books, and then the ancestors, those two books. But then, if I had to add one more, if I had to,
Go
I'm a
ahead,
little
add one more.
okay. I'm a little old school. This is
And
my
what
grandpa
was the
talking.
last author? What was his name?
Brandon Massey, Massey, and it's another author. That's what I was trying to look up on my phone.
Okay.
Um,
Take your time. I'm gonna get a
you
sip of
know,
my tea here while you do that.
yes. Let's see. Let me see. And Tannerine Dew. Yep, she's the
Uh-huh.
other author. Yep, it's called The Ancestors, and it's on. And that book I read, I have the copy downstairs. The other one, I'm gonna go old school with y'all. Y'all know this name, y'all know this work, but have you actually really sat and read Stephen King?
I
Read Stephen.
have let's see. He's in the I don't know if you can see it in the shot that's right there, but he's in the October recap list for his new collection of short stories. The is it the dark you like it? The you like it darker? But I have not picked it up yet. That's what I'm actually thinking about bringing
Yeah,
tomorrow.
and although the movies Carrie, Cujo, The Shining,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Century Stand, my favorite Stephen King book, there are two of them, is Christine, which is the car,
Which is what?
and the other is The Eye of the Dragon.
The Eye of the Dragon.
Yes,
And what was the first one?
Christine.
Christine.
Christine. Yep.
Okay.
Like Christina Aguilera, but just Christine.
Put that in the chat for everybody.
Okay.
So you heard that first. Nicole Butler's favorite Stephen King. If any of her students are listening out there. No, The Eye of the Dragon in Christine. I know Stephen King can get crazy. I'm really excited to read um, some of his work, and I think what I like about bringing a collection of short stories to something like a reading meetup is that I can get through a lot. I can get and talk about a lot of different topics from the authors, the narrator and author narrators, narrators, and the author's perspective. Excuse me. So that's one I'm thinking about bringing that one tomorrow. Any other reading recs for folks watching tonight?
mm, no, I don't have any like within the that that genre. I don't have any off the top of my head.
What are you reading right now?
Oh my goodness. Well,
It doesn't have to
uh,
be in the genre, of course.
well, no, not right now because I am doing prep work for uh, a project that I'm working on. I told you a little bit about the Hiditi project. So I picked up this book called Griots and Griots.
Okay.
And so the Hiditi project is talking about turning children into digital urban griots, and using the influence of the ancestors who created the concept of a griot. And so I'm just doing my study, my self-studying prep work
Mm-hmm.
to enhance the project and to, make it really robust when I start shopping it around for people to adopt it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually more into work study mode. But in my relaxed mode when I read, I'm Leslie, this is LA Banks again. This
Okay.
book is
Yeah.
called Better Than,
Mm-hmm.
and it's tattered because I've had it that long. And I read it when I know the ending, I know the whole story. It's like one of those things you read it just to slow your mind down. And it's a book about a girl named Deborah. She's divorced, not looking for love, just reinventing her life. And then she meets um, Jason,
Okay,
sexy
Jason.
Jason,
Okay,
and they
Jason.
go through the
Mm-hmm.
tension of do I like it? Do I like you? Do you like me? And then they get together, and then just the topsy turvy of building a relationship. So it's this is L.A. Banks's pseudonym. So that's another name
Okay.
for her romance fiction. She uses this name.
Hmm.
So that's just another relaxed book. But yeah, I'm in the study mode to prepare for the project. So
So tell me a little bit more about the Hadithi project. I know you sent me some preliminary information. It's a project that I would love to be involved in, either as an advocate as well as however else I can lend my services and talents. So I know we'll be in touch about that. But tell me a little bit more about that in your work with and what you're trying to do wholeheartedly, the full scope with Nicole, excuse me, with Butler's book bag.
So the Haditi project is targeted towards high school students, and this is where the teacher part comes in. You listen to their stories. I've had students who were locked up over the summer and had the ankle bracelets and told me the story how they had the GPS monitoring. You had students who are living from house to house because family life is not straight. You have students who are going to Dubai. The whole family's going to Dubai for the child's 16th birthday. All these
Mm-hmm.
stories.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they don't get told, they don't go beyond them telling me and helping children understand that their voice matter. How do they honor their lineage? How do they honor their story, whether it's good, bad, or different in their opinion? And it's not enough to just sit there and write it out in a journal or write a rhyme to it or write a rap song.
Put that
That's
pen to
a
paper.
piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Tell it,
know,
retell it.
that's where the griot piece comes in because griots were the storytellers, the genealogists, the historian, the musician, the topographer or geographer, whichever word you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
They knew the lay of the land
Mm-hmm.
physically, they knew the lay of the land culturally, and so it's just taking their story to another level and then incorporating 21st century tools, which is digital, like recording, like what you're doing now,
Mm-hmm.
recording a podcast of telling, when I lived on 25th Street between the corner store and the chicken box spot,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's where me and my friends used to play because my grandmother said I couldn't go beyond that. That is the geography piece. That is talking about the culture and talking about familial lineage with the grandmother and the culture with the friend. Having their stories put to
Yep.
the mic, beyond the song, beyond putting all the pieces together,
Mm-hmm.
and creating something that hopefully somebody in year 3000 and two
Yes.
will listen to it and be like, oh, that's how I was. And prehistoric
And learn
Baltimore,
from it. Right.
3,000 years ago, yes, that's how it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then having that as a healing piece or a celebratory piece. Because not every story has to be traumatic. It could be celebrating. their favorite birthday party,
Yep.
but talking about the sights, the sounds, the smells, and putting it on a platform such as this, or making their own series about who they are, and then all the people that are involved and places that were involved. So the Hiditi project is just expanding what my students and other students do every day, tell what happened to them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I encourage everyone out there to think about the griots they have in their lives, and their families around them. You just made me think of some modern day griots that I have that I'll definitely need to connect you with, Nicole. One is Darnell Walker, who's actually a death doula and founder and owner of Passport Required, as well as Dr. J.T. Rohn, who recently published Doc Agoras, who does research in scholastic work right where geography and race collide, one of the themes you mentioned just a moment ago, Nicole. Um, so we want to hear more, definitely more and more big things to come from the Hadithi Project and Nicole and Butler's Book Bag. Um, I want to mention that again, to follow Nicole at Butler's Book Bag on Instagram. You see at the bottom of the screen today information about the meetup this Halloween. But before I let Nicole go today, as we end our interview with all of our guests, asking what would they recommend or would like to feature tonight as their bookish thing, person or group, an event. And of course, I think we all know what the event will be, but go ahead, Nicole.
Well, all right. The event this Thursday at Swill, Baltimore, on Washington Boulevard in Pigtown,
Hmm.
Baltimore, Maryland. Um, Starting at 6:30. There's a cocktail making class at the same time. That's a paid event, but
Hmm.
the event with me is free. Will always be free. That is my guarantee because I just want people to come and vibe, and that's payment enough. Um, yes, and also I do want to highlight what I have on. This was an old slogan from the former mayor of Baltimore, Kirk Schmoke, called Baltimore the City That Reads. That was, if you look around Baltimore City, there are old benches, bus benches, the real
Yep.
old wooden ones that
Hmm.
still have this. And I want to highlight this shirt. Yes, I put it on today for work. So I had it on
If
all
I
day.
need to
I didn't
find
know
one of
what
those
to wear.
shirts.
But I wanted to highlight that literacy is key, whether it's financial literacy, health literacy, um, just textbook reading, book literacy. Literacy is key to life, and you need to be somewhere where that's going to be supported. And Butler's Book Bag is about that. It's about community literacy. Like
Mhm.
let's eradicate these illiterate rates that we have in the city. So that's it for my book things and my soapbox of, you know, eh,
That's a community. That's a theme that we hear all the time. When I asked that first question back at the beginning of the segment of the interview, how did you become an avid reader? And one of the first things that folks who are avid readers as adults that they say spark joy in them was just the exposure. Either they had a library card to their local library and actually had access to get there. There were other readers in their lives. They had a teacher that they really connected with, and they were exposed to literacy and reading a variety of books that way. So, thank you so much, Nicole, for the work you do, not only in the public school systems, outside of the school systems, the work you're doing diligently to get Hadithi Project off the ground. Everyone, make sure you follow Nicole. Again, that's at Butler's Book Bag. You can still sign up. I believe there may be still spaces. I'm not sure. We'll see.
yeah,
On Eventbrite.
that's
Okay, great.
what
There's still
uh,
spaces for the Unsilent Reading Meetup Situationship, non-committed. Bring a book. We encourage you to stay in the horror, black horror, in the horror, science fiction, dark fiction realm. But you can bring what you like to read. You can bring some long reads, nonfiction or fiction. And we'll see you all Thursday night, Halloween at Swill. Thanks so much for joining, Nicole.
thank you for having me. We'll talk later.
We will. See ya.
See ya.
All right, everyone. I just want to take a moment to again say thank you to our partners at BeMoreNews.com and JNF Enterprises. Stick around for part two. There will be a short 3 to 5 minute intermission where I will warm up my tea, recheck a couple of tech things in here, get caught up on the chat, as well as open up the Discord streaming channel. So if you are on Discord and you're watching diligently right now, waiting with sweaty palms for the announcement of our first giveaway, stay tuned and stay tuned for us part two after the intermission. We'll be announcing the winner live. We also have some more details about part two of the giveaway. So make sure you stay tuned. And while you're at it, feel free to hop over momentarily, booksandbounty.com, and check out the new blog post about the October 2024 recap. Be back real soon. 2, 3 minutes, you guys. Again for joining me, your host, Stephanie Henderson, here in the Books and Bounty TV studio She Suite. We are back with part two of tonight's episode, streaming live on Twitch. We are also, in a unique manner, streaming live on episodes live on Twitch, on TikTok tonight. That is because coming up soon, in about 10 minutes or so, we'll be announcing our first giveaway winner. So stick around for that. But first, I wanted to give you all a bit of a bookish recap for the month of October. A few weeks ago, when I started Books and Bounty and started the live streaming show, Books and Bounty TV, it was all in a great effort to start rebuilding my bookish community, both virtually as well as in my local community here in Baltimore and the DMV area. Since then, I have met so many bookish people from here to New York and everywhere else, reconnected with colleagues and friends in the book community, and the joyful times keep coming in. And so I just wanted to give a bit of recap. We'll probably do this as part of these around the end of every month here on Tuesday nights live on Twitch. But so tonight, so let me pull up a few things right now. And you're reading from, I'll pull this back up in a second, but you're reading from my October recap, and I wanted to actually bring up the, we can bring up the website itself. Oh, that's big, too big. Okay. Let me just switch over really quickly. Oops. All right, so right now what you're looking at is bemorenews.com. If you can actually read about this in a couple blog posts ago. Donnie Glover, host of the Emmy-nominated Donnie Glover Show, Tuesday mornings, every day, Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch Johnny on his show. He also has some live streaming shows throughout the afternoon at a different cadence along the week, including his New Life Recovery show, which is very inspirational, and I encourage you all to check it out. So I will often be reposting Books and Bounty content, as well as unique content to bemorenews.com as their as an associate publisher for bemorenews.com. So I encourage all of you to sign up for the newsletter. Head on over to bemorenews.com. Give you a few seconds. TikTok. So I have that up for later. Sign up for the newsletter, and and soon you will see additional content, again, some exclusive content coming to bemorenews.com. As associate publisher, I hope to have to get more in touch with you and readers through the newsletter and engaging with the readers at bemorenews.com and throughout the Black USA News Network. So, if you're reading here, we'll start off, it starts you off with the introduction, and then you can read the full recap over at booksandbounty.com. And as we all know, with this month, we were focused on our spooky reads and other things. So let's go through and talk a little bit. I have a few links open up now that we can talk through a bit of bookish things uh, that we encountered on Books and Bounty TV and beyond. So we focused on the literary genres of fantasy, science fiction, Afrofuturism, dark fiction, and most recently, who's something that's come to be one of my favorites is horror. Horror. Oh, that Baltimore accent is thick. And um, although I cannot do scary as much uh, in movie form. I can stomach it. If I can stomach it, it's at home. Although we are watching the TV show from their highlights from our first reaction from the first episode this season. But that's it's not that scary to me anymore. But From is a good show. Great actors. They're such good actors. But it's easier for me to digest, the dark. In reading form. I can pick it up and put it down if it gets too much. I can pick what time of day I'm watching, engaging with all of that. So, um, some of this, so what we focused on this season, first season of Books and Bounty TV, has to do with all of our spooky reads. So, a few of the special guests we met this month included Stefan Folks, who is the author of Project Black Beam. This is an exercise in Afrofuturism and speculative fiction. If you can imagine, considering, let me make this my plug right here. If you can vote, exercise your right to vote. Um, Michelle Obama made a poignant comment in a recent rally for Kamala Harris, in which she said that for those of you who think your vote don't count or want to vote independent or third party, women and folks who look like me and folks like my child will be collateral damage. So please go vote. Um, I'm not going to get on my pedestal, my stump today, but maybe soon on live, but not tonight. But if you can imagine such radical racist conservatism of um, Project 2025, if that came to fruition, what would America look like, especially for Black people, in 100 years or so? So Stefan Folks' book takes place in the year 2091, and that has happened. He has created a dystopian United States of America. I really like the structure of his book. It's an approachable, intelligent, thoughtful way. I actually encourage all young adult teachers to put this on their reading list. This is a local West Baltimore young man who started off in music as a rapper producer, still does music. Music is a heavy influence on this book. You'll see it throughout. This book it's very much biographical in many ways. But check out Books and Bounty TV highlights on Twitch and YouTube to see my interview with Stefan. And pick up his book. Go to projectblackbeam.online and buy this book. This was published with Silent Books Publishing, which is a self-publishing partnership here in Baltimore, Maryland, really telling the stories that perhaps some of these mass marketable publishing houses may not touch. And they're really doing the work for people in Baltimore, for writers in Baltimore, for storytellers, and our homegrown griots in the area. It's co-founded by Angel King Wilson and Destiny Williams. You can check them out at silentbookspublishing.com and check out Stefan Folks' book, Project Black Bean. So let's see, going back over to the recap, not that one yet. We also, on Books and Bounty TV, open this up, we were able to meet Emma Ahsan. were able to meet Emma Akpan, who's also known as at Eminism on Instagram. Emma is, let me see if I can find, there we go. So we had a few opportunities to meet Emma last week. The first one was at her first meeting of the Black Girls Horror Guide at People's Book in Tacoma Park, where we got together with a few other like-minded readers with an affinity for the dark and moviegoers, because Black Girls Horror Guide is not only a book club, but it's also a cinema club as well. Again, we just talked about my maybe with this group of readers I can try, but we'll see how that goes. We had so check out at Eminism. That's EMMANISM. It's there on your screen as well. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can zoom in. Oh, no, that's not working. But at Eminism at Instagram on Instagram. Sign up for the Black Girls Horror Guide. Emma started a new WhatsApp group chat to talk about it and pick our choices and make sure that we can all align schedules as best as possible. I'm really excited to be a part of this group. Let's see, who else did we meet? Oh, and also you just met Nicole. You can check out highlights from my first silent meetup, my first silent reading experience with Nicole with Butler's Book Bag on Twitch and YouTube as well. And you also could have caught me this month. And again, most times, most full episodes, live streaming events happen on Twitch. So make sure if you are listening right now on TikTok to go on over to Twitch, follow us there, queue up the show there. As one of the contestants to enter some of these first few giveaways, you need to be a follower on Twitch here at Books and Bounty TV, as well as join our Discord server. The Discord server is going to be fleshed out and more up and running as we get folks joined and engaged. That's where we'll post some more exclusive content. Starting next week, we'll be streaming to the voice channel on Discord, so that and eventually we'll be having a more call-in style that's industry and expert related. So make sure follow us on Twitch, follow us on Discord. But there you'll be able to catch exclusive content like live streaming from the Traveling Book Nook. The Traveling Book Nook is a service that travels from conference to expo and available for private events to create a cozy, engaging, and inviting bookish atmosphere for attendees. We had our first Traveling Book Nook engagement at the Black Wall Street Expo, the ninth annual Black Wall Street Expo, which is hosted by Notre Maison Connects. You can find them at nmconnects.org. Um, Jackie Cummings is a founder of that organization. They open up 25th Street here, the 25th Street corridor here in Baltimore, Maryland, to dozens and dozens of upwards of 100 businesses this year, where they can show off their services and products. This year, Jackie actually had to reschedule due to the hurricane season. Prayer, the city and others allowed her to do so. And so it was a great turnout, even though we had to reschedule. So thanks and shout out to Jackie Cummings at Notre Maison Connects. Make sure you guys check out the Chill Spot on 25th Street, where you can get artisan shaved ice, tasty treats and sweets. And I think horchata may be on the menu soon if it's not already. The Chill Spot on 25th Street. So that was a really, really fun experience. I plan to do this again at upcoming festivals, fairs. And if you would like the Traveling Book Nook at your own event, make sure you contact me, Steph at booksandbounty.com. So I'll go through the other parts pretty quickly because I'll like to give you guys time to read this on your own. What else is posted here? We have the October reading recap. And like I told you, that list is so full. I forgot to link to it here, so I'll have to remember to link to that. But I have it up here. And it is the full list of all the reads and recs, either from my TBR pile, from the recommendations that you heard on the show. I'll actually add Nicole's recommendations from LA Banks, Brandon Massey, and others to this article tomorrow, if not late tonight. And If you plan on joining us at the Unsilent Reading Meetup with Butler's Book Bag on Halloween evening, this is a great resource for you to go and get some spooky read suggestions. Um, let's see. So take your time after the show tonight, tomorrow, get caught up on some recommendations. It's not just all horror and fiction. We have a few, some nonfiction reads here and other novels from literary fiction and genres that were also mentioned. But because this is our series on fantasy, science fiction in the dark, that's where you'll get, that's where most of the selection is in this monthly reading recap. All right. Um, so we're about to announce the winner. I want to say stick around for after the winner announcement. I'm going to go to the chat here real quick and let everyone know. And I told you guys there would be a slight surprise on this segment. So, as you know, if you have entered to be a contestant in the giveaway, you must be a follower on Twitch on Books and Bounty TV so you can catch all the live action from Books and Bounty, as well as a member of our Discord server, Books and Bounty, excuse me, also known as the Bookish Brigade. We had a poll with some of our early followers. I asked a few people who I engaged with throughout the last month or so about where we should go with what to call ourselves on Discord. So it's the Bookish Brigade at Books and Bounty. Make sure you join our Discord server and follow Twitch because this is not going to be an end to this giveaway challenge, so to speak. We have a few more spots open on both, but because we are ending this first series in fantasy, I wanted to make sure that we gave that we ended this series with our giveaway winner, but we are going to extend the giveaway for 2 more weeks. Don't really know what the book or what it's. Well, I do know what it's going to be. Where the next series is going to be on graphic novels. So I do know the giveaway will be a graphic novel. Shout out to World from Midtown Comics in Manhattan. We went to the Grand Central Station store last weekend, a couple weekends ago. My teenager Jay and I, and first of all, Grim and Izzy gave wonderful customer service. As someone who is new to graphic novels, I sort of just spewed my interest at them, and they gave me some wonderful recommendations. So I do know the next giveaway will be a graphic novel. But that being said, make sure you are both following on Twitch and Discord. So hold on, I have to get our giveaway announcer, and we'll be right back. And we're gonna announce our first giveaway winner. Give me one moment, guys. Okay, so and while the my better half, known as at Raf_Bayless here on Twitch and other platforms. Make sure you guys follow him too. He hosts live streaming for all you gaming and sports fans. His show is not as kid friendly, but it is fun. That's where I have fun. Go follow him, Raf_Bayless. But he's going to announce our winner tonight. But first, I want to say happy pub day. Happy pub day to Gloria Edom for Gather Me. Her new book just came out today. I picked up my signed copy from Snug Books. Thank you, Snug Books. Shout out to Snug Books out there. Found that on the shelf today. I went up there for other things. There it was, and then now it was in my bag home. So happy Pub Day, Glory. Well-read black girl. So here we are. Announcement winner. And the handy dandy Beyonce boot. First giveaway winner of the Legend of Orisha series. I don't even have it up. It's in the, you can't see it. It's in the big TV, the stack from this reads. But here we go. Here he is. Can they hear you? I want to. They should be able to hear you. Come on, use your announcer voice. And the winner is. Dun 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 dun.
Oh, Drizzle 88.
Drizzle. Drizzle 18. Let's see. Can you guys see this? I don't know. How do they do this on the? Put my hand behind it. D Drizzle. See, he's following on both. There he is. D Drizzle, you won Legend of Orisha series. This is a great bookish gift for yourself or the bookish person in your life. I'm so excited for you to be our first winner of our first giveaway here at Books and Bounty TV. But like I said, don't fret. You still have a chance. You're already here on watching us on Twitch. If you are watching me from TikTok tonight, I'll be engaging in the chat really soon. I just can't do it while I'm hosting guests and talking to you about all these fun things. But I will be engaging in the chat in just a few minutes. Make sure you follow me on Twitch and you join our Discord server. Starting next weekend, next week, we will be opening up our Discord server for a voice stream and author takeovers. I'm so excited to have upcoming on the show author Tess Stone, Jaleesa Whitley from Book Trips, and others as that I'm excited to bring to you and talk bookish things, events, and people with. So again, congratulations, D Drizzle. I'll be messaging you directly about how to get this Legend of Orisha series to you, the complete set. You'll be getting Children of Blood and Bone, Children of Virtue and Vengeance, and Children of Anguish and Anarchy, all by Tomi Adeyemi. Make sure you guys follow her, Tomi.Adeyemi on TikTok. She's really, really active on social media. She has a voice channel on Instagram called, what was it called? The Tominators? I don't know. It's really cute. Anyway, go follow Tomi. Congratulations, D Dribble. Books and Bounties. First giveaway. Whew. Okay. Well, that was fun. And I'll be contacting the winner soon after we end the show tonight to get information on how I can get that shipped to you. But first, I want to talk a little bit about what I've been reading, what we've been reading over this past month. So let me see. First, I want to talk about Outraged. And say this is one of my first mystery suspense. I think it was supposed to be a thriller, although it was I have to admit that it was not that thrilling. So there, the book in of itself was very predictable. I was not. I was surprised. There were some twists. I'm not gonna lie. There was a little bit of a. There was part of the twist at the end got weird. It was cool. It was weird, and I didn't expect some of that at the end. That was pretty good. That was pretty good, Brian. There were parts of it that dragged for me a bit, and that's because I think I mentioned earlier that building a setting for me does a lot. And this is set in San Francisco in the Bay Area, and I really felt like Brian was like a cab driver through the area, and I thought that eventually him laying out every detail of every turn the narrator made. Topher. Topher is a news reporter, Christopher, but he thought Topher was more palatable to a wider audience, so he goes by Topher. And that, in and of itself, Brian does a good job of explaining exactly who that character is. So I will kudos to that. But it was some of it just got very monotonous when it comes to the scene setting, and instead of giving the vibe of the neighborhood, you would list exactly the buildings and places of business and places in the neighborhood or on the block itself. So just want to quote some of my initial like thoughts from my highlights here, if I can get to it. And again, this is first thoughts on Brian Copeland's Outrage. Again, I'm glad I stuck it through to the end because it was a twist I wasn't expecting. Like I was expecting it, but I wasn't like expecting that. So I will say, if you, I would encourage it if you, and take my entire review with a grain of salt because this is not a genre I usually specialize in. I usually read literary fiction. We just heard a lot of science, speculative fiction, short story collections, poetry, and fiction from the Black diaspora. But it was fun reading a mystery thriller, and I think I want to read more now that I've read this one. So I will say that it was a good introduction that way. Um, but here's some of the things that I've noted. Too much unnecessary detail. Couldn't tell if this is the narrator's feelings or is it one like sometimes the tone or voice seemed a bit foreign. Like is this the author talking again now instead of the narrator? That kind of thing. Um, I feel like the voice does it like it's a I said a series of surveyor's notes instead of scene setting. But there were parts where there was one, like I said, not enough left up to the reader to ponder, coax me into belief. Um, at one point, I'm like, is the narrator gaslighting me? Again, that could have been done on purpose. Now that I think about it, now that I think about it, Brian, the gaslighting by the narrator could have been not by the narrator, but just the feeling of being gaslit was yes. Now you did a good job there. That was very very good. There was one part. There were moments in his prose where I really did appreciate some of it, like rubbing his forehead as if it was a Aladdin's lamp that could conjure memories. Um, Again, giving the sort of, I guess that's part of the thriller suspense part of it is that having that feeling as a reader of being gaslit, which is actually spot on considering the ending. So that review will be posted tomorrow. And that is Brian Copeland's Outraged. You can check out the full list of October reads and recommendation on booksandbounty.com. I also finished up enough, I think, of selections from Never Whistle at Night. You've seen this full before. I really like this anthology. Shane Hawk is one of the editors. He has other works that I think I'm going to check out that he has compiled along with some fantastic writers. This is Never Whistle at Night. And I read a few stories out of this book. Let me get my handy dandy notebook. I read a few stories out of this one. And I didn't do this on purpose because there are a variety of gender identifying authors and writers that appear in this short story collection. Uh, but it seemed as if, and I read four of them, each one had a strong female protagonist um, and had to deal with themes of not only the troubles they share with other indigenous tribes and people, but also as being women. Um, and as a Black woman, again, that identifying with the double burden is something that I really could see myself in parts of these stories. And as someone who admittedly um, should know more about the indigenous histories and cultures of this land, I'm glad this was an introduction, a deeper introduction into their stories, and some of the griots and some of the indigenous griots of the Americas. So I actually found out through my fellow sister, uh, that Never Whistle at Night is a saying or superstition in some Caribbean communities. And um, my fella has some indigenous Trini um, heritage, ancestry as well. So just seeing that the connection there, when Simi saw that I had posted about this book earlier, I thought that was really, really cool. What are some of the books that I read, stories that I read from here? I read Kush Tuka, I read I read, hold on, let me tell you who that's by. So I read the first story, Kushtuka, by Matilda Zeller. I read Before I Go by Norris Black. Um, I read The Heart Shaped Clock by Kelly Jo Ford. And I read Dead Owls by Mona Susan Power. Um, so a lot of the horror that comes out of a diasporic tradition, horror and dark fiction, it sits firmly in the real and reality, and the magical realism, the paranormal, the science fiction, the Afrofuturism, the different genres and spin that we can turn those horrors and realities in on itself, and take a good glaring look at it, in its face for what it is, and the sort of the trauma, that trickles down from generation to generation. Those traumas that they bear, those horrors that they bear, is something that I really, you know, I didn't just pick this up because it was a pretty cover, although it is a beautiful cover. Um, I knew that there was something more for me in this book, and I'm really, really glad I got into it. And finally, we'll be getting into our time where I'll sit and chat with you guys online. I will be and taking a silent moment for myself, perhaps to catch up some reading. So the proper show is about to come to an end, but I encourage you to stick around, chat with me, take some time to follow us on Twitch and Discord, and check out booksandbounty.com. We are a small family owned and operated business that is growing, and starting to build a dedicated family and community of bookish people, network in networking in the industry, as well as partners in publishing, to be able to offer our clients a full course service of editorial production and development. This includes book development, uh, proofreading, copy editing, copywriting. We want to be able to programmatically tell your story. So I encourage you to check out booksandbounty.com, check out some of our professional services there. If you ever have any questions, you can contact info@booksandbounty.com. There's a contact us form on booksandbounty.com, or you can reach out to me directly, Steph@booksandbounty.com. We are still managing a small group of all of our social media, so you can reach me at Books and Bounty on all of our social media platforms. And again, I want to give a special shout out to some of our partners in publishing, Donnie Glover with BeMoreNews.com, as well as Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. of J&F Enterprises. You can catch links and descriptions from all of the moments in tonight's show. Our posting schedule, we will post highlights to Twitch, YouTube, and elsewhere, leading up into next week's episode. However, I highly encourage you, again, if you're watching us here on TikTok, to make sure you jump on over to Twitch, follow us there. That was the only place where you'd be able to catch the full live stream show, all of the live action in the Traveling Book Nook, as well as our coverage of live, in-person, and virtual literary events. So before I turn to our moment of silent reading, I'm going to be reading a few stories from The Wishing Pool. On last week's episode, if you catch part 2 of last week's episode, I read you the introduction to this short story collection. So tonight I will be picking a short story to read, and perhaps giving some first impressions. But until then, I encourage you all, again, check out booksandbounty.com, share the channel, and help us grow. Thanks for turning the page with us here at Books and Bounty TV. I'm your host, Stephanie Henderson. Stick around. I'll be engaging with folks in the chat. I'll be doing some live reading here for a little bit. And I hope to see you again next week, Tuesday nights at 10. So if you're watching for TikTok, I'm about to jump on the chat now on TikTok. I will also be chatting for Twitch and Discord soon. So stay tuned, guys. Let me know what you're reading tonight, okay? What's in your TBR pile? Any reading, last minute spooky read recommendations for our viewers out there? Leave them in the chat and let me know. If you are just joining us, we are live on Twitch. We're actually unusually live on TikTok during tonight's live stream of Books and Bounty TV, because we just announced earlier in the show our first winner of our first giveaway, D Drizzle, who is a follower on Twitch and part of the Bookish Brigade Discord. Is now a proud owner of the Tomi Adeyemi Legend of excuse me, the Tomi Adeyemi Legend of Orisha series. Oh goodness, Big Boy is coming, please. Oh, your ad could be here. Your ad could be scrolling across the top of the screen. It could be featured in one of the mini credits or live slideshows that appears on Books and Bounty TV to our viewers here in Baltimore, Maryland, and beyond, virtually all over the world. Our Books and Bounty TV is syndicated on the Black USA News Network through bemorenews.com. We only live stream to Twitch, but we post our highlights to YouTube and elsewhere. Again, we are currently looking for sponsors. You can find more at booksandbounty.com, but reach out to me, Steph at booksandbounty.com, if you would like a prospectus. Um, Ultimately, it comes down to creating a partnership and sponsorship that best aligns with both of our goals. So again, if you're looking to see your ad down here, scrolling across the top, or on any other Books and Bounty platforms, please reach out to me, Steph at booksandbounty.com. I would love to see where our goals align.